Smart means business does continue. I'm JORRAM SSONKO, and this is Smart 24 TV, where we do drive your business. Now we're definitely heading into our discussion of the day, where we are heading to the bigger question, which is, will Emyooga program alleviate poverty by 2025? Now, speaking of which, the glaring flaws in the implementation of government's Emyooga project that did start in 2019 has actually come to light a few months after its rollout launched in July last year. Now, the Emyooga program, in which the government has so far injected over 260 billion Ugandan shillings, has actually been there to enable Ugandans in the informal sector boost their household incomes by growing their small businesses. Parliament recently actually went into recess to inquire into allegations of abuse of the Emyooga funds, as the MPs are due to report back to Parliament in some districts. And the targeted beneficiaries, including border riders, carpenters, tailors, welders, fishermen, taxi drivers, vendors, and also saloon operators, have used their money for their own benefits. However, others have actually received half of the money after the implementation of the program, swindled a portion of it, and in other districts, the targeted beneficiaries are yet to receive the share. This and more is what we're going to discuss here on Smart Means Business. But in studio, I am having I don't know if I'm to put it in this way. I have two guests with me that I'm going to give the opportunity to actually introduce themselves. I will start with my far left. Thank you for joining us, Miss.
Thank you very much. I am glad to be here.
Okay.
I am Dorothy Wegoye Chimuli. I am an agro-processor. I do process Kim's natural chili and Kim's tomato ketchup. But as well, I am the Principal Marketing and Public Relations Officer of Uganda Technology and Management University.
All right.
We are in a world of diversity, so we learn to diversify.
Oh, definitely. So we are humbled to have you here on the show today. And to my immediate left, I do have another guest with me. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too. I'm happy to be part of this conversation. My name is Janita Nasuna. I work with Siatini Uganda under the Program of Women and Economic Justice. Siatini Uganda is a policy organization and a policy advocacy organization working on issues of trade, investment, tax, debt for sustainable development.
All right. All right, now before we even go into our topic of the day, mentioning about the fact that with this Emyooga program that was initiated into the country by the president, and will it actually alleviate the poverty by 2025, or will it give a reduction in the poverty levels of Ugandans by 2025? I would want to first start with Ms. Dorothy here. Do you think, if you were to look into the sectors, if you are the policymaker, which sectors would you clearly look at and say these are the beneficiaries of, these are my first beneficiaries of the Emyooga funds?
When it comes to Emyooga, the purpose to which it's dispersed, but also at the same time where Uganda wants to be, the vision of Uganda. First and foremost, we are advancing the interest of industrialization, and we also emphasize the need or the contribution of the agricultural sector towards industrializing this economy. So when we look at what is at the forefront, I think that should be the main focus of ensuring that the Emyooga contributes to that growth or to that achievement, to be able to achieve the overall vision of the nation.
Okay. And actually, because you've actually mentioned of agriculture, yes, it being the fact that it's the backbone of Uganda, and we're targeting it as a way that these farmers would be of mass development. Do you see it happening by 2025?
Now the issue is not whether it will or it will not happen, but the issue is to what extent will it happen. Because at the beginning of the Emyooga, they said it was going to address a population of 68% to bring the rural out of poverty. So to determine its potential by 2025 should be based on a statistical approach.
Okay.
Because from the beginning it was on to take to 68 people out of poverty, meaning that on average poverty must be out of the way by at least 14%. The question is that from the time it was enrolled to this day, what percentage have we achieved? Because it's not what Emyooga has done or not done, but the extent to which it has impacted on the actual purpose to which it was intended.
Right. Now let me bring in Miss Joanita here. As you as policymakers, do you think of, for instance, what Ms. Dorothy has actually identified, that the fact that by 2025 we are looking at to what extent will poverty move out of this? What do you consider as the policies that the government should actually lay on board to make sure that this extent of maybe 40%, like she mentioned, is put to reality?
Now, like Dorothy said, Emyooga should be reviewed holistically to ensure that it benefits. So when there is that holistic manner of, how has it performed so far, then we go back to the drawing board. Has actually Emyooga performed? Recently, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament has been, they've been discussing Emyooga, the floor of Parliament, and she herself said that Emyooga has performance issues. It has not yet reached its intended beneficiaries. So as policymakers, Ministry of Finance that put Emyooga in place, the government should first now go back to the drawing board and unpack Emyooga holistically from what is entailed of a beneficiary, the SSONKO. Is it really visual to say that a SSONKO should have 15 associations? Is it proper that an association should consist of 7 to 30 members, and then in a SSONKO there should be over 400 members to benefit from 30 million? So, such issues, now that is already a gap. That is a very amorphous number of people to benefit from 30 million. And remember, these are people who have been impacted on by COVID-19, meaning that all this group is a marginalized group that will all run for this 30 million in case it is put on their account and they are able to access it. So shall they all be able to benefit from this 30 million for starters? Then it goes back now to the time frame that is taken in the process of accessibility. So many SSONKO members are saying that they have chased this process for over a year. Some of them started since 2019 when the Emyooga was introduced. When it kicked off, some people started on the process, and to this date they have not been able to access. So all these gaps should be addressed. How much time is taken? And then the only way they can address the time frame is by simplifying the process of accessibility. Let them not condition people to have a SSONKO of 15 associations. Let them now reduce it to say no. Now a SSONKO shall involve 5 associations, 7 to 30 members, to access at least 20 million if they feel that the 30 million is too much for a SSONKO. But now with a SSONKO, with 5 associations in a constituency, in the same nature of business, these people will be able to find each other. But limiting them to 15 associations in a constituency, it is almost unheard of. So already there is a gap. So, but also training. Are the people being trained to utilize? Okay, in case there is because I have known that there is a training that happens before people access the fund to qualify them. However, government should again monitor the SSONKOs that have received these funds, to monitor the utilization of these funds. Is actually the money being utilized in the proper way? What are the SSONKOs using the money for? Do they still need more training? Do they still need more support? So such are the angles that government should look into, so that it redesigns the Emyooga to be able to achieve the purpose that it is set for, to elevate people out of poverty by 2025.
And definitely, that is from policymakers' eye. Now, regarding to the millions of money that were actually put in place by the president to help and benefit these particular people in terms of the Emyooga, waliwo mukwano gwange omwe yaŋŋamba miliyoni 3 ntono nnyo okusinziira ku ssente ya Uganda nagamba temuli. So we definitely want to ask, does the 30 million, is 30 million enough for these particular circles when it comes to that? I'll bring in Ms. Dorothy here. Do you think the money that was allocated to make this, to actually benefit these sectors enough?
Definitely, by all standards and at all levels. 30 million tezimala. Jukira nti ne sente zino zebali okuteeka mu circles mulimu abantu bangi. Kati weebuuze buli omu aba ayagadde okufuna essente zino. Okusinziira ku bantu abali mu circle banaafuna mmeka okuyamba bizinesi ezo okuva mu mbeera gye balimu. Ekizibu ekiriwo kyendaba ng'omuntu ali mu bizinesi nti nno ebiseera ebisinga omuntu aba ayagala otwogerera n'ekinaatuyamba naye ntera nnyo okugamba nti nno buli omu amanyi omulimu gwe ng'essente zino tezinnaba kuvaayo oba okusalibwawo meka ze balina okuteeka mu ssaako zino bizinesi ze baagala okuyamba baba bazimanyi bamanyi embeera gye ziyitamu okulaba nti n'essente zino zibayimusa okubajjayo gye bali okulaba nti no waliwo olugendo lwe batambuddemu kubanga zino essente zino bw'ogenda n'ozigabanya mu bantu ojja kwesanga nti no tosobola na kutuuka 1% okujja wooli. So kiba kirungi nnyo okuchanolinga obuyambi buno mu bantu ba bizinesi naye nga omanyi ekigendererwa ne wa gye kigenda obbatuusa. So essente zino tezisobola tujja we tuli ne zituyimusa ku level eyo gye twagala okugamba nti kati comfortably naffe tu contributing ku national development.
Okay. When you did mention about sente million asatu kuba sako ezo ojasanga nga zirimu abantu bangi nnyo miliyoni asatu wemba si mu njogera nti wonna tubira omuntu ali mu business 30 million can definitely be fit for 1 or 2 businesses wemba nakuteeka mwekyo. Now Mr. Wanita, otunulira ku sente ezo eziteereddwawo, do you think zimala?
Nedda, ng'era mukyala Dorothy bw'agambye ddala kituufu tezimala kubanga abantu bangi ate abantu bonna bali mu bwetaavu buli omu yandiyagadde okuganyulwa mu ssente zino kati era nga betugambye nti ddala ssente zino bezijja ku ssaaka account ffenna ne tusituka omulundi gumu bekka tibannange ffenna twagala kuki kufuna ku ssente zino twagala ku looni zino ziri 30 million si bwe kiri abantu bali mmeka 4 mu constituency eyo saako oba kaŋŋambe bakyala kwagala na saako abantu mulimu saako eri between kaŋŋambe 200 to 400 members eyo nno ye saako entuufu kyekye that is the minimum members mu saako kati ffenna these 200 are not just people bano abantu bagobererwa bizinensi zaabwe zino bizinensi eziri emabega ezirina obwetaavu ffenna tuli mu bwetaavu essaawa eyo ffenna twagala ssente ddala ssente ezo osobola ozisaasaanya ne bwe ziba nti looni kubanga saako zino ki looni bayirayo ssente zino eziri microfinance looni tetukyerabira tebazituwadde buwi they are not handoffs they are not grants naye looni bwe ffenna yetwagala okufuna ku looni eyo ddala tusobola ogifuna n'olwekyo ssente ezo tezimala wadde n'akatono.
So if at all you're a policy maker who is just joining us, bebimu ku nsonga nno nzisobola otunulamu konola abantu miliyoni 3 otunulidde ssaako eziri mu constituency will it be enough? Because if you're a policy maker, sometimes the policy maker operating to they're not looking at what is happening on ground, and which is always affecting the policies that are being made in the country. Katika nsonga yenini njagala kusooka kumanya nti tulina ghost circles mu Uganda. According to the parliament, nti waliwo circles ezirimu nga tezirimu bantu naye nga bwe ziri they already operating. Ms. Dorothy, what do you have to say about that?
Kati ensonga ya Ghost Circle ekyo sijja kyogerako nnyo naye wabula kansabe omukyala nnyambeko.
What is your take on that? The ghost circles in the country. I tell you that they are receiving money at the expense of the people who are supposed to receive this money.
Kati ekyo kiviira ddala nga bwe twagambye gaps eziri mu Emyooga. Now that is poor administration. Poor administration. Omanyi ssente zino eza SACCO ziri mu microfinance yezirinako obuvunaanyizibwa okulaba nti zituuka mu bantu mu SACCO zino. Naye ani ahandolinga process eyo, application process? Ba administrators, ba duty bearers, be ba CDO, district cadre, bano abali ku ground mu district zaffe. Kakati era nga bw'omanyi embeera eri mu nsi eno, abantu bano bagenda bo ne bakola SACCO zaabwe kubanga process bagimanyi, ebipapula ebyetaaga bakola ki babimanyi, ne bakola SACCO ezaabwe. Ate be bantu bennyini be bamanyi process nti oyita wano n'odda wali n'odda wali. Kati zezo Ghost SACCO ziba CDOs bano abamu n'ababayambako abali ku district bo basobodde okukola empapula zaabwe ez'amangu mangu ne bateekayo ebipapula ne basaba ki microfinance sente ne bakolamu bu SACCO bwabwe ate nga bihappeninga. So at the end of that day ogenda okwesanga ng'ekintu kino kyekubira ku Ghost SACCOs zino. People abali ku ground abahandolinga abali mu administration process application process be bakola SACCO zaabwe ate abantu abalina okuganyulwa mu SACCOs ne baba frustratinga. Kakati ogenda okwesanga Ghost SACCOs ezo ate era ne government zesomanga abakoze eki abafunye ssente ng'ate abantu abali balina zifuna the intended beneficiaries tebazifuna.
Naye waliwo abantu abafunye ku ssente zino tugambe sectors ezifunye oba bafunyeeko halfway mumawuliddeko ku bantu nti ono ye n'agamba nti ssente ze ez'Emyooga zajja mu SACCO yaffe netuzifuna netubaako kyetuzikozesa.
Sijja kugamba nti nno nazifuna as a business person, ate sijja kugamba nti nno waliwo gwe mmanyi yazifuna, naye nsobola okwogera okusinziira ku kiri mu mawulire ku reports ezo. Ekisooka mu byonna abantu bwe baawulira ku nsonga za Emyooga ngezze, abantu bagezaako okwetegeka mu bwangu okulaba nti nno beetegekera ssente zino. Ate nga njagala kugenda ku Daily Monitor kye yafulumya nga 27 May omwaka guno nga we baayogera nti nno kye ssente zino zijja abantu ne bagezaako okwetegeka mu bwangu SACCOs okulaba nti ne ssente zino bazifuna. Ate ekyo kye kimu kyagambye entegeka yali etya okulaba nti nno beetegefu okufuna zino ssente n'okuziteeka mu nkola. Awo kati ndowooza ghosts we ziyingirira nti ne ssente zino zijja naye waliwo azikola ki azitwala. N'ekirala waliwo aba applying omwaka oguwedde mu October okulaba nti no bazifuna niye bazifunye mwaka guno. So waiting period eyo ey'emyezi 10 nakyo kikosa businesses kubanga omuntu bw'oba omusuubiza ekintu ekigenda omuyamba n'akitegekera ate n'akisuubira ne kitajja olaba nti no kikosa ki businesses. So yes waliwo abazifuna naye ate tekibayamba nga bwe bandisuubidde okuyambibwa kubanga tekigwa mu plans, development plans okulaba nti waliwo enkyukakyuka eyo.
Actually reports are coming in the people who benefited, some of the people who have benefited from Emyooga have used the money for their own desires. So omuntu afunye ssente zino mu SACCO bino osanga nga buli ali mu SACCO ndowooza afunyeko emitwalo nga 3 oba ekitone oba 10 n'alabira ddala nga talina kyagenda zigattako ko yeka ngende mbeeko kyenzikolamu oba n'agula omugaati n'agula sukaali ewaka ezo ne zigenda
ng'ate era abamu bwetaavu bwa sukaali n'omugaati ogw'ewaka.
Naye ate ekyo kiva mu mbeera omukyala gy'ayogeddeko. Ability to accounts. Ku top watabeerawo accountability. Kitegeeza nti ne ku grassroot tewajja kubeera accountability. So misuse of funds nakyo kyekiri okutulemesa okutuuka gye twagala okutuuka. Ate nja kuwa example. Mu eno presidential initiative we bali documentinga bagamba nti no the MSC Microfinance Support Center yegenda kubeera responsible for planning, management, budgeting, reporting and accountability of all funds dispersed for the program. This includes funds dispersed to the groups and training of members and leaders. Naye ate wano Deputy Speaker agamba aweereza baani ba MPs okugenda ku ground okukebera ekiriyo. Naye kye twagala okumanya report ki efulumye okuva mu Microfinance Support Center ku nsonga eno, kubanga ebintu wetuba twagala bitereeza tulina okubeera ne strategic way forward nti buli stage erinako accountability ne levels zonna. Kati bino byonna weebiri kubanga n'abasaako bamanyi nti no tewali agenda bagoberera okulaba obezze ssente bazitadde mu nkola okufulumya kye bateekeddwa okukola ki okufulumya. So ebintu bya accountability birimu ki challenges eziri okukola ki otulemesa. Secondly, we baleeta emyooga ne bagamba nti nno katugenda zitwala okuyamba abantu. Tosobola kuzimba kizimbe ekitaliko foundation ennungi. What was the foundation to this emyooga? What was the pillar okulaba nti emyooga eno eteekebwa mu nkola okufuna results ze twagala? Kubanga bw'ogamba nti nno oleese ssente walina okubeerako strategic plan, implementation, accountability okufuna ekyo kye tukola ki kye twagala. Foundation ki eyajjira ku emyooga eno and the implementation capability and commitment okulaba nti nno tujjayo kye twagala.
Hapo ndi mbesito wenjagala okuleteramuko okusinziira ku Emyooga njagala kuzeeyo kino kati Emyooga project eno eyingiddewo president agitaddewo alayinze forward okusinziira ku mmwe ba policy makers abayambako abantu bano abatonotono waliwo abantu ababatuukirirako ne okubayambako ku nsonga eno?
Ffe ba policy makers tetuyambibwa as such wabula tuliwo okwetegereza processes zino ne policies government zebeetaddewo oba zisobola okuganyulwamu omuntu wa bulijjo oba owa wansi. So kakati ffe twatunuulira emyooga gino especially nti emyooga bailey program yatandika mu 2019 nga kubamu abantu aba MSMEs betukolagana nabo kubanga tuli kitongole kya byabusuubuzi nga batandika okuguba emyooga gino mu 2019. Ate era okwongereza ku ngabo gayituddemuko katono emabega abantu abamu bano ba MSMEs saaka ezimu ze tulina sente kweziri ku account Microfinance Support Center yaziteekako ku account zaabwe. Abamu bafuna to be specific waliwo saako eryekkiira ey'abakyala yafuna sente ku account za ku account yazo mu October 2020 kweziri miliyoni 3 naye nessaawa eno wenjogerera mu studio sente zikyaliyo ku account tebazifunanga. Kati zezo report zolaba Microfinance zeweereza nti tuwadde abantu sente asaake zirina sente ku account nyingi nnyo naye abantu okaccessinga sente ezo okuzijja ku account okutandika ozikozesa ate nazo kuliko emisoso emirala okufuna sente zamazo ziteeka ku account mulina okubanga musevinze sente nga mmwesaako mulina okubanga musevinze miliyoni 10. Jjukira bano abantu bebagamba nti bebali obubi si bwe kiri bebeetaaga okusitula wabula ate balina okuba nti nno bo beekolamu omulimu ne bakwata miliyoni 10 ne bazongera ku account eno eriko miliyoni 3 ziwera 4. Gavumenti esobola okubakkiriza okuba nti nno basobola okujjako okutandika okukozesa sente ezo. Number 2, abantu abo beetaaga certificate okuva Ministry of Trade. again ng'ovudde eno ku district ate bamala ne batuukira Ministry of Trade, certificate ezo saaka ezisinga tezinnaba kufuna certificate ezo, era it is one of the reasons ekiba delays okuba nti basobola okufuna ssente ezo. So microfinance entya bwena accountinga ssente zaayo ejja gamba saako gundi ne gundi ne gundi ne gundi twaziwadde ssente, naye saako ezo ddala bw'ogendera n'otuukira saako ezo ssente bo bazifuna bazikozesa, ojja kulaba nga ekintu story yaki yanjawulo bajja ga ssente ffe tetukola ki tetuzirabangako. Kaakati kyekyo mu kuteekateeka naffe ebitongole bino ebiri mu advocacy balina okutuinvolvinga mu processes zino nga badrawinga kati kaŋŋambe nga Emyooga. Ffe abakiikirira bannaffe abali mu bwetaavu mulowooza ng'era Dorothy yagambye musooke mukole study mulabe need eriwo, abantu balina bwetaavu ki, bizinensi ziri zitya, zikola zitya, ssente zino tuzidesigninze tutya, yandibadde design tuzitaddeko criteria etya esobola okwanguya oba okuyamba abantu bano okukola ki, okusituka. Kaakati ffe tulina kuba mu implementation strategy process wano we batandikira okuwa modo nti ekintu kigenda kutambula bwe kiti, ffe we balina okukola ki, otuinvolvingira government ministry olina otuyitira ne tuba part of the process okudesigninga government programs zino.
Omanyi ebiseera ebisinga omuntu wagenda nagambe kuba omunaku tetya bintu ebimu ebyembi bisekebwa in most cases, naye ogenda olaba nti kiruma for someone to be given an opportunity to give to actually to receive something, but on condition. Kati omuntu abanga wa receiving emitwa milioni 3 ate omuwe condition yo receiving nga inayo milioni 10 kwa account, it becomes absurd. We're living in tough times, if you would agree with me, that everyone is trying to rejuvenate their accounts, rejuvenating the economy. Nokulaba nga buli omu afunze nnyingi zaaye abenenge esobola omusustaining embeera gye tulimu nzibu nnyo, tomanya kikiddako, tomanya kichikutukako in that perspective. Now we head into, when we use the last 10 minutes that we have, to head into, for my guests to actually give me their view all regarding Emyooga programs. Now, let's talk about the program itself. Will it alleviate or take away this poverty by 2025?
I have already mentioned something about that.
Yes, sir.
From the beginning, the intended purpose was to take 68% of the population out of poverty. And the only way we can establish, you get it, is to use that yardstick to which Emyooga came into existence. And it is not about whether it will or it will not, but the issue is to what extent will it take people out of poverty. And like I had said, 14% annually should be the target. We have now gone 10 months down the road. The question is, at what percentage are we at? But it might be very difficult to determine that percentage with some of the issues that we have raised. Why? The money goes to Microfinance Support Center. Microfinance Support Center disperses this money down. Accessing this money is a challenge. Secondly, those that access it are misusing it, as has been mentioned. Thirdly, there are so many ghost circles. So this eats into the intention to alleviate poverty. So I will not say whether it will or it will not, but to what extent will it? If we are at 40%, shall we reach 50%, which would be 70%? Or shall we be at 2%? That is annually.
Okay.
So because 40% will lead you to the 60%, shall we account 100%? Because the moment you take all the 68 people out, that means you have alleviated it 100% and people are above the poverty line. So having said that, I don't think that by 2025 we shall be 100% above the poverty line until we address these things. And like has been said, this is a holistic approach. It involves all parties, right from the moment that the decision to take up Emyooga was implemented, right to the grassroots. All stakeholders must be committed, must be corrupt-free, must have the knowledge, the know-how of how to ensure its success, to make sure that by 2025 we are at least at 86%. Why? Because we haven't yet got the statistics for the first year. So I'm putting it at maybe the next year where things can get better. However, like I had said in the beginning, diversity is very good, but we must diversify with purpose. And this one again, I will talk about, there is this statement that was made again on the 4th of August 2021. And we have just approved the parish model, but we cannot implement it before we know what the Emyooga funds have done. You get it? Eh? Yes. Before we get to another mode of dispensing finances to the public or to those that must receive it, we must have a report from the previous, have analyzed it and gotten the impact to which it has affected the lives of the people before another model comes in. Definitely. Because the success of the previous will determine the establishment of the next. So what criteria was used to bring up the next and approve it before knowing the success or failure of the previous? What steps are going to be taken? What loopholes are going to be covered in the next, if they don't even know the loopholes in the previous to address the next project? So I think there is a lot that needs to be done, and we must check ourselves as stakeholders in this whole process, appreciate the situation, commit to address the situation, to be able to move forward.
Okay. And Miss John, this is where I actually also bring you to give your assessment on this particular issue. Will poverty be alleviated by 2025?
I will not repeat what Dorothea said. Yes, if they address the issues like as mentioned and as discussed by Dorothy, totally. Okay. But also, let us acknowledge the fact that we are not going to stimulate the economy through just cash handouts or loan handouts or credit facilities. There is so much more that is needed to alleviate people out of poverty. First of all, government should put in place alternative market spaces, because now these government policies in place, financial policies in place, are all credit facilities. There is no grant amongst all the mentioned. The parish model, Emyooga, UDB fund, their credit facilities. So after government giving these cash handouts, the Emyooga, the parish revolving fund, now these are credit facilities. Yes, it comes down to the agro-processor that should be addressed. So they have increased their productivity. Then what? What about the market? Where are they going to sell their produce? So these are the market spaces that should be put in place. The government should, review the local content bill that was not addressed, that was, I think, sent away from the floor of parliament. The president had refused to pass the bill. So I think the bill should be reviewed in support for the MSMEs to create market, but also PPDA. The procurement should procure from these agro-processors. I think they have issues. They keep saying that the standard of their produce. But there should be equitable benefit, equitable procurement, right from a micro agro-processor to be able to benefit from snacks. Let them create open markets. Number two, let government regulate the market prices as well. Yes, now they have the credit facilities in place. What about the market prices? Do you remember how the farmers were stuck with their maize at some point? Let them.
They had to even deport. Not deporting, but Kenya had to refuse.
Yes, because they store maize for such a long time. They get into the market and then they thought the price was 1,000 shillings per kilogram, and now they are surprised with the price of 500 shillings per kilogram, because now the produce is so big and they've left the market to be determined by the forces of demand and supply. But government should be in position to be able to have a price of monitoring and regulating the prices on key commodities, that is maize, that is sesame, to be able to support. But also government should also support a lot of agro-processors in this new era of digitalization. Let them train, let them enforce, let them publicize the digital markets in place, educate the MSMEs to be able to take advantage of the new digital spaces. They can market from there, they can advertise, they can distribute their produces from there. So all those are some of the measures, but also reducing the costs of transport. They should also review now the price on fuel, that the fuel tax that has been put in place. It has led to hyped transport costs, and this is affecting the agro-processor, or the agriculture industry in the whole value chain at the end of the day. They should also review the price on internet, the internet costs, because now since we are going into the era of digitalization, and then yes, and then there's internet tax, and then the internet costs are so high. That means there will be a challenge in taking advantage of digitalization. So there's so much to address for the economy to be elevated by 2025, not just cash handouts.
Now that depends on how the government will actually look into this particular issue, if whether the Emyooga program will alleviate poverty by 2025. Now I'm going to give each of my guests a minute to give their final assessments as we do say goodbye for now. I will start with Ms. Dorothy. Any last assessments regarding any issue?
Like my colleague has already said, a holistic approach and a commitment to that approach. Having mentioned something very sensitive, digitalization. Digitalization goes with innovation hubs. I'll give an example. Right now there's a current project, the Africa Internet of Things and Artificial Intelligence Challenge. And this has to do with agro-processing. The question is, how many are able to take up such opportunities to make a difference? Because investing in the farmer, investing in a small scale business without staying abreast with the current trends is also going to hinder our progress. So we must get back on the table, appreciate the current environment in which we are operating in, and find ways of how to have that holistic approach. Having said that, we appreciate the Emyooga. We shall not say that it's not something that is not there to benefit us, but let's redesign the strategic purpose and way forward of making it purposeful in our lives.
Okay, Mrs. Joan, in 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Yes, thank you very much. We as Seatini Uganda call government to redesign, to address the gaps of the Emyooga. It is a good program, and there are always good government programs, but they can only be good if the gaps are addressed. There's still time. It is the first year. We are 10 months in. If they restructure and redesign the program, I'm sure it can benefit so many MSMEs. All
right. That is it for today. Now, I did have Ms. Joan Nasuna, a program associate for women and economic justice at Seatini Uganda. I also had Ms. Dorothy Chimuli, the managing director at DNM Group International. You did mention of something else?
Yes, I'm the principal marketing and public relations officer of Uganda Technology and Management University.
All right, I'm JORRAM SSONKO. Get me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JORRAM SSONKO. And for those that have actually joined us, thank you very much. This is Smart 24 TV, where we do definitely drive your business. This has been Smart Men's Business, and goodbye.